All right, so this is going to be a video response to Ethan Van Sciver's comments about me on Twitter in reply to Ripaverse Goalposts uploading a very poorly truncated version of a 20-minute video that I made to try and make me look bad. The video is nonsensical. We're not even going to watch it here. It's nonsensical. And I can tell you exactly what all this means without having to watch this video, right? So Ethan Van Sciver replied to Ripaverse Goalposts, who made this clip about me, which isn't even about Airrick July. I haven't made a video about Airrick July in about a month, but I guess I should, because clearly they are obsessed with me to the point where they're just pulling clips again that have nothing to do with Airrick. Anyway, in this video clip, I'm talking about Geeks and Gamers and Jeremy. And again, it's a 20-minute video. It's from like 5 days ago. Please go watch the whole video. However, stick with me for a moment. In the video, I'm talking about the issues with Agatha all along, the complaints about that, then the comparisons to the Acolyte, which are unfounded in my opinion. And then speaking about Inside Out 2, which there was a bunch of rumors that came out that Inside Out 2 was asked to reduce the LGBTQ content in that. And so there's all this drama behind the scenes with Disney. People are saying that now they're trying to pull back on like inclusiveness and gay content and trans people and stuff like that. So that was the point of the video, was I was talking about how they say wokeness is dead. They also say Disney is pushing queer stuff because of Agatha All Along and some questions made about that show, but also they're reducing queer stuff because of the rumors coming out about Inside Out 2 and how it's all very confusing to me. But that's irrelevant really, because Ethan Van Sciver's comments about me are pretty much, they speak for themselves here. And so I want to reply to these and debunk them, because I think there's a lot of stuff here that needs to be unpacked. Okay, so Ethan Van Sciver says in reply to the idea of wokeness dying, the idea of woke dying is incorrect. I think companies are becoming more self-conscious about it though, because the word woke has hit the mainstream as an expletive. Now, woke hitting the mainstream is probably one of the worst things that could have happened to it, because things become less cool and less buzzy once they hit that mainstream cycle, because they burn out very quickly. The entire concept of wokeness and it being an issue and the woke mind virus and all this stuff, once it starts circling through the mainstream, it will burn itself out. And they'll come up with something new, something different to talk about. So I think the idea of woke becoming part of that whole system is probably not what those guys wanted, because it's going to make it harder for them to stay in that pipeline and make money off of that, because it's one of the words they use to sort of funnel people to their content. Once that funnel gets bigger at the end, the search results widen and they become less and less, like the algorithm doesn't point directly to them. So I think that's bad for them, for a lot of the channels, a lot of the bully channels. Anyway, let's go on to say here, Airrick, who is a homosexual, doesn't understand queerness being pushed by Disney sucks. Folks who push queerness as their main agenda also usually suck at making movies and comics, not always. So here's the thing. Saying something is being pushed is a weaponized word. I don't think queer people existing in a world, a fictional world, the real world, whatever it is, that's not pushing anything. It is just people being aware that there are different types of people in the world. And here's the thing, we're not going anywhere. Gay people are not going anywhere. Trans people are not going anywhere. Queer people are not going anywhere. We're not going away. And this idea that we should be invisible because of however other people feel about us is bullshit. It's asking for censorship. This is why, and I know people hate this word, but this is why I talk about oppressive behaviors. People don't like that word. It sets them off. It triggers them. How can I be oppressing people? If you are asking for media to not include queer people at all, because it's somehow pushing it, then that is oppressive behavior. I know people don't want to hear that. That's just the reality of it. It just is. And I want to make this very clear. I am against any type of censorship. I believe that art, creative things should be allowed to come out, and then the public can decide on the value of those things. I don't think we should be censoring the vision of writers and artists when they're making material. And Ethan, I feel like you would agree with that as well, because you wanted to make your comics, you wanted to get them out there, you wanted to be able to work and make a living off of doing what you love. And I think asking people to not include certain things in it, to censor their vision, to censor their art, is anti-art. And you don't strike me as someone that's anti-art. Maybe you are. Maybe I'm misreading you. I don't know. You'll have to let us know. Goes on to say here, for example, Inside Out 2 was excellent as a work, but it was subtly or not so subtly telling the story of a little girl growing into adolescence and becoming a lesbian. If Disney edited out any gayness from Inside Out, those scenes must have been explicit because it's a very gay movie. Now, I want to put this out there. I have not seen Inside Out 2. It's a movie I've not watched. So I can't comment on that story. And I'm not going to even pretend or sit here and do what the bullies do and make some shit up. I don't know for sure. All I know is the drama that went on behind the scenes. All right. This last line is the one that I really, really want to touch on. And then we're going to go back up to his second paragraph because there's something else I want to add there, but we needed to get down here first. The agenda of glorifying, not just normalizing or asking for acceptance of homosexuality is weird and something from which Christians and conservatives want to protect their families. That's a lot to unpack, Ethan. It's a lot. What are you trying to protect your families from? Knowing about the existence of queer people? Knowing that queer people exist? Knowing that people may grow up to be gay or trans or whatever that might be? Because otherwise, I'm not going out places and doing illegal things that people need to be protected from. And I would say the vast majority of gay people, trans people, queer people are also not doing that. So when you say protect, it make in the back of my mind, it's like, what does that even mean? Is that projection? Because if it's not worried about us actually doing something illegal, then it would be insinuating that we somehow infiltrate and groom or indoctrinate family members. I don't think it is healthy to project our own insecurities onto family members and children in our family. I don't think that's healthy. And I can say that coming from a family where growing up, I knew that I was different. I knew there was something going on with me, and I was never, ever exposed to anything gay. And a lot of the gay people from my generation and even generations older than me were not exposed to anything gay. So this idea that seeing gay people in media existing is dangerous is literally an irrational response. What would happen is it is affirming. That is what it is doing. It affirms that someone is what they are. Because growing up, I had no idea what was going on with me. There wasn't a lot of media out there for me. There wasn't a lot of people to talk to. So it was very dangerous as a gay person growing up because you don't have outlets and access to things that you need to truly understand what is going on with you. And now they do. Now people do have that. So affirmation and recognition of those things about yourself, it's much easier to find those things. You're not going to have someone change into being gay or trans or any of these other things from simply seeing people like myself existing in the real world. Because here's the thing, if it's not in the movies or TV shows, it's going to be outside in reality. It's going to be me walking down the street holding hands or being affectionate with my partner. It's going to be a trans person they might run into at a grocery store or something like that. Because I talked about Lightyear and the gay kiss in Lightyear. It's like 2.8 seconds of that entire movie. You can't tell me that scene could somehow indoctrinate somebody, but violence, hatred, all of these other things that happen in movies all the time doesn't affect them in the same way. That doesn't make any sense, Ethan, and you're a smart guy. You're a smart guy. So I think a lot of it is projection of fears onto other people or family members. And I think that's very dangerous because, again, we're not going anywhere. We're not disappearing. And going back up here about folks who push queerness as their main agenda also usually suck at making movies and comics. I mean, this is where I'm going to kind of leave off on this one. I have yet to have someone explain to me what the difference is in pushing and glorifying and existing, because I've not seen anything gay or trans come out that has been accepted when people are telling the stories of their lives in the context of being queer. I have yet to see that. And that's what this video was about. It was about Agatha, a show where you have a character, if it is going to be Billy, if it is going to be Wiccan, is a character from the comics who is gay in the comic, so that fidelity has carried over into the show. If that is in fact who the character is, he might be a completely original character. He could possibly be. But it doesn't matter because people are still complaining about it. So the idea that it's like, oh, just take these original gay characters and you can use them instead of changing characters, changing their gender, changing their race, whatever it might be. And that's fine. But then apparently it's not. Apparently it's not okay. Apparently it's still a fucking problem. So that's what confuses me. What is the difference in a character simply existing as a queer character? What do we have to do? What hoops do we have to jump through to make it valid in the eyes of people who have dissenting opinions about it? What do we have to do? What's the answer? How are we allowed to exist in media? That would be the question I would have. Can we be proud of our work of bringing queer characters into media that we are making? Can we be proud about that and talk about that without pushback? How do we get there? How do we get to that point? It's a very serious question. Very honest, straightforward question. How do we get to that point? Is there dialogue that can happen where we can go out and promote content that is queer friendly as queer friendly content without getting beat over the head by people on YouTube? I would love to know.